Investing Podcast for the week ending October 25th, 2020. This is episode 381, where we talk about HVAC controls and smart building controls, about this industry that we're all in and all the exciting stuff. And the question on everyone's mind this week is, what will Ken Smyers dress up as for Halloween? And to get that answer, we'll introduce your host and mine, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only Controls Goblin from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Kenny Smyers. Kenny, welcome to the show, my man.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon, but my costume this year is going to be, I don't know if we're even going to have a Halloween this year here in our area. They're still up in the air as far as, is it a good idea, bad idea for children?
Well, everybody's going to be wearing masks, so, I mean, what's the big deal, right? I mean...
Very good point. So that if I did, I wouldn't have to work too hard to have a costume of low regard. But, well, what are you going to dress up as? I think
my family, I've introduced my 7-year-old and my 5-year-old to a classic show that we love, and all the kids in the neighborhood do it now. No, the Addams Family.
Oh, sugar.
Yeah, the Addams Family. So all the kids in the neighborhood sing that song because they came over to my house and I played them on YouTube, the really old version. So my kids have deemed that I should go as Uncle Fester. Axel wants to be Chucky. His sister's trying to get him to be Pugsley. And then, Evelyn Grace could be Wednesday. And, of course, my wife Anna could be Morticia. So here we go. We can have the whole Addams Family thing.
I like that. That's good. I can't believe it. That would be one of those Jeopardy things where I thought I knew the answer and it buzzed in and got the and that would have really broke my heart. Because Herman Munster.
He's one of my favorites there too. Herman was great, wasn't he?
Those are two. How ridiculous those shows were and how we watched them despite that.
No, they were great. I mean, like I said, we've got in our neighborhood, we live in this like sort of circular neighborhood, and it's really great for our kids because there are probably 12 kids that are between Evie and Axel's age, right? We call them the Eldon Street Gang. So they're all doing that song together, but they come over to my house and we play the Munsters for them. They love the Addams Family. That's it. They think the Addams Family is happening, right? So,
cool.
So I'm introducing them to stuff. And when the boys get a little bit older, there will be I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched. So there we go. All the beautiful women that we fell in love with at a young age.
Well, I spent my share of time in front of a television, that's for sure. And
Barbara
Eden.
With the three channels we had, right?
Yeah. I mean, in Germany, it was even worse. They only had two. They had the first television program, the second, and then finally RTL out of Luxembourg came in. But the thing is that life's going on, and they are going to probably have some sort of a modified Halloween, so it's good for the kids. I never was a spooky type of guy. I never liked the half cut off heads and stuff like that. I just never, those haunted houses and stuff like that, I stayed away from them at an early age. I just didn't have the stones or whatever for it. But no, I think it's a good thing. We're having moderate weather too. So we had an 80-degree day in Pittsburgh yesterday. It's amazing how that changes your disposition. When you have bright sun and an invite to go outside by the weather versus today it's 45 degrees and raining. So it's
I got you, brother. Makes a big difference. Well, listen, man, we got an awesome show this week. We got two fantastic guests. But before we do that, we got some congratulations to dole out here. Our good friends over at LinkSpring got quite the acknowledgement, huh?
They sure did. Frost and Sullivan for guiding clients to smart building solution strategies in a post-COVID-19 environment. So congratulations to Terry Swope, Mark Peacock, and the team at LinkSpring. Well done, and we need it. So keep it coming. Keep that good advice. Keep that good engineered solution coming, because we could really use it.
Well, and of course the company you're with now, Jackson Controls, got a nod too. Tell us about that.
Well, we're proud to announce that Jackson Control has been awarded as one of the top HVAC consulting service companies in 2020 by the Construction Tech Review. So yeah, the folks there, Greg Erickson, they took great picture, and it's a great interview, and it's really rewarding to see these efforts get recognized and then get acknowledged, and so we extol the virtues of all the hard work they've done. We also, I got a shirt here. See this North Hills Golf Academy?
I do.
That's my brother Jesse's daughters. Started the North Hills. Both of them were golfers. Samantha went to play Division I college and was a whale of a golfer. And Sydney was she was a Division I fast pitch softball player, but she was also a great golfer. Well, they've opened up these entrepreneurs, despite the uphill climb of COVID-19. They've opened up a golf academy, and they're doing real well. But we're helping them to celebrate, and we wish them continued success. So,
well, congratulations! I tell you what, that group your brother goes to, the East Coast Control Summit. Maybe they should have their next outing in Pittsburgh at this place and get some lessons along the way. What do you think?
Well, if we had good, we have great golf courses. We just don't have the weather that they have down there in South Carolina.
Well, usually when we were doing that stuff in South Carolina in March, the weather wasn't that great anyway. It was always really cold.
You guys never invited me. I wasn't cool enough or good enough to come, so I would always hear about it, but and see the pictures.
Kenny, you've matured a lot. You might get an invitation.
I can't the ball straight again. My arms are all better, and my eyes.
Hey, listen, before we bring our first guest on, I want to shout out to somebody else. Obviously, with the COVID and all, people are not traveling as much for the training, and some companies are really doing some very, very innovative stuff regarding training. One of them we posted on the site, which is Belimo, had some really great training. I want to acknowledge them, and you participated with our friends from Distech, and you had firsthand experience what that was like. So talk about both those, Kevin.
Well, Belimo, again, they're an engineered solution. So building, Belimo had a ASHRAE 62.1 update, dew point versus relative humidity. There was there's a webinar coming up the 28th of October that, if you got the time and energy to do it, because, it's going into the deep dive into controlling humidity based on dew point instead of relative humidity, which again, you're down in deep weeds there, but it's important if you're trying to provide maximum efficiencies, maximum comfort, and then maximum measures against COVID-19. So, we know that humidity plays a very important role in COVID-19 for the host, for the human being. Our mucus layers are optimal between 30% and 60% relative humidity. And now we come into the cold weather, and that's going to become an issue. People might need to humidify their air to compensate and get the level between 30 and 60%. So that's a very important thing. And I think the guy that's doing the presentation is Eddie Kelly. He's a product specialist. And again, you have to register. So we have a link on Control Trends, and we'll have another one in the ControlTalk now 381. And then, with Distech is just on a roll. They have we had some training here in West Virginia, and the level of the support and the accessibility, Distech has made their training so that they can access their home base reservoir of information. In other words, everything that you have as a trainer, you're limited by your program or your form of how you're training, the venue. But if you're having it and it's connected back to Distech's tech support center, they have access to all that information and all those examples. And so they do a really great job. And of course, Distech is just, they've won another award for their Eclipse. So they've got a lot of the, the smartphone things that we talk about, to put this information available to people's fingertips and make it an easier interface between the user and the building a automation system, especially in COVID-19. People need to feel confident they're coming back into a facility that they're part of, that they feel comfortable inside of. So the first decision to come back to the buildings is the actual employee or the actual tenant. So when they feel they've got a system that, not only does it meet the requirements for dilution, ventilation, filtration, but you can feel that, you can see that, you get that feeling that, you're going into a safe environment, you're more likely to come back and be productive. So that's
well, very cool. And I want to cycle back around to the Distech training, because you mentioned that you guys did training remote and your customers really, really liked it. And you were talking about it. What made it different from normal online training that we've been seeing?
I think it has a lot to do with the instructor. My brother David, pretty well, he was the interface with the Distech and with our customer, but he said that the gentleman that was doing the training was he knew that people could, what their spans were when you start getting tired. So you're sitting there and you're watching a Zoom screen for, how many minutes? I mean, you need a cup of coffee, so just making it feel more realistic that you're almost sitting side by side or sitting in front of, in a classroom environment, because they're coming up with more and more metrics that, as much as we don't think people, a couple companies just announced that they're never going to have offices again. I'm trying to think of who they were, but I wouldn't want to guess them or hazard a guess. But they're saying that it could be possible that, the days of working in offices for certain companies is over. Because of their style, because of their business models, they do not need physical in-person connections. And then I've got this couple of these metrics are coming back saying that's not quite correct. That there's issues that are happening in the residential environment that was never intended to facilitate mini commercial requirements, business requirements, all the way down to the bandwidth of your internet service, to the point where you've got your rooms isolated. There's no way to how do you physically deduct all that, or economically it's not coming out. So we'll see people go back to buildings.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because we met two new neighbors that we met the wife, we didn't meet the husband, because her kids were out playing in the neighborhood yesterday, and her husband was a Silicon Valley executive for one of the companies out there. And, again, they truncated the offices down so you can work wherever you want to work. So they came back to Atlanta. So I think we'll see more of that. But Kenny, listen, all this sort of ties back into buildings, and remote access and remote working ties back into, what our first guest is an expert on. So how about introducing him?
Eric, I'd love to. We have one of the top guys in the cybersecurity world. Just want to mention overall that this is the Cybersecurity Month, October. And if you put it on the IP, you're working with IP, I mean, you got to get down to brass tacks and understand this is a situation of growing magnitude. And we have one of the top foremost experts. I mean, this guy, he brought us up to speed about 6 years ago and never left off the gas pedal. And now he's got some incredible, eye-opening metrics. He's got some actual captures that I think are going to, not only is it going to capture the attention of our Control Trends community, but I think it's going to put a lot of people, it's going to set a lot of people in motion, realizing the significance. So we'd like to welcome to the show the one and only Fred Gordy from Intelligent Buildings. He is the cybersecurity expert to know. And I want to say one thing too, is that back in the day when we didn't know what we're talking about, Fred gave us our first checklist to put on our refrigerators at work or in the office or whatever, just to get some bearing on how to deal with cybersecurity. So welcome to the show, Fred.
Welcome, Fred.
Guys, again, Ken and Eric, I really appreciate it, and appreciate all the support you guys have given me over the years, because quite frankly, through this journey, you guys have been one of the main constants in my journey. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome, brother. You are welcome. Well, listen, man, what is a cybersecurity guru do to celebrate Cybersecurity Month?
Well, of course, I got to show you some problems, right?
Can we see them? Can we see
them? Yeah.
All right. Well, Fred, let's get right into it, because, Kenny and I both like pictures.
All right. Well, so I want to start before I get into this, because we are celebrating Cybersecurity Month. This first thing, everybody's probably heard me talk about this, but again, I just got to give kudos to NIST, which stands for the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, who most of the IT world follows in regards to cybersecurity standards. The thing about it is, putting those standards on top of our world is not necessarily the best fit. And so NIST in 2019 put out our 8228. And the 3 sentences you see there come directly from there. And kudos to them for acknowledging and publishing the fact that you cannot control, manage, maintain, monitor OT devices, building control devices with IT type solutions. So I just wanted to point that out to begin with. And it's really, besides them, actually, I got to throw this in there too. I saw this report yesterday from Gartner, and Gartner went through this whole thing. And if you get a chance to read it, it's really interesting. But they say basically the same thing, and they have some really good things to know. All right, so let's start off with some facts here, and you guys hit me up, and I'll give you more detail if you want it. But what I'm showing here, these are from actual things that we've seen ourselves firsthand. So as the industry as a whole is probably about the same, because everywhere we go, it's about the same. But again, these are with the customers that we've worked with. So the first one, using that 8228, is phishing campaigns, which we all know about, right? That's the $500 gift card from Amazon. All you got to do is just click this link, and so on and so forth. Problem with those are they're beginning to get to be noise, if you will, or most people are used to seeing those kind of things and think, oh, maybe this is my IT department. So they're getting better, which is a good thing. However, and just this past week, it was another prime example is OT focused phishing attempt, meaning that somebody in the bad guys, they sent an email to somebody in the facility with something that may look like Johnson Control, Honeywell, you name it, or something like a tenant needing overtime air access. So with that, the average focus phishing rate in a campaign in IT is about 33%, and OT our average is 70%. We just had one campaign we ran; it was 100% of the people in there clicked the link. We found that 100% of the time on the systems we've looked at, users are being added without authorization. And why is that important? Because users can just show up with no oversight. So if I was a bad guy and added a user, nobody would ever know it. Shared credentials, and I'll show you some examples of those in a minute. That's pretty self-explanatory, but 86% of the systems we've seen have shared credentials. Of the sites that we visited, 100% of them, the server or the computer is being maintained and managed by the vendor with no oversight from the customer. 37% of the systems have had out-of-date OS. 90% of them are being used for things like checking Facebook, email, so on and so forth. And this is where ransomware is launched from, is by you checking email, clicking a link, and it taking over the system. So down here, my apologies, that one's mislabeled. The next line is the number of hours that have been lost from these events. And this is both attacks and IT-induced events, and I'll get into some of that. And of that, there's been $9.5 million in the cost to fix these instances in the past 2 years. So before I go any further, you got any questions about that?
Well, Fred, so this is just a microcosm of what you have hands-on experience. So you've already witnessed and had the experience that your customers have lost $9.5 million. Now, first impulse question I get on there is if they would have invested what minimum amount of money they could have brought themselves under a very serious umbrella of protection. What's the investment for these companies if they would have invested in their cybersecurity defense and program that you offer? What would be the number to offset that?
So to put it as succinctly as possible, that $9.5 million, it would have been a quarter of that. So roughly, I can't do the math in my head, but about 2-point-some odd million would have been the actual cost. That's a lot of money saved. And do you know that would have been, most of that would have been saved by just doing a good backup process?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, these are the metrics I think that has been absent for so long. It's like when we used to say that 330, 300 rule, and then we said it, but then the metrics came years later. I think with cybersecurity now, we're seeing these metrics, bear fruition of consequence and purpose. So this is really good stuff. I think this is what we've been lacking to really motivate people that don't take this seriously enough.
And that's a good point. And the thing at Intelligent Buildings, what we've been doing is everything that we've been amassing these past 4 years, we are keeping in a statistical bucket so that we can go back and at least see how things are going, see how we are improving as an industry. And to my knowledge, nobody else is doing that in the building controls cybersecurity space.
I'm not aware of anybody. You, Eric?
No, not like this.
So to that, we just talked about the amount of money that could have been saved, and I said at least 3/4. And the 3/4 of there, not all of that was all attack. Some of that was IT, but this chart shows you what we have seen since 2015, the percentage of increase in malware, ransomware attacks. So in our world, 100% of these would have been avoidable had they not checked their email on the application server.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm all for outdoing email. I think we should go back to snail mail. That was another way we could do it, right? I get too many emails as it is.
I hear you, brother.
Hey, you're telling me all these $500 Amazon cards that I'm supposed to be getting that I haven't received yet, I've been had?
Yeah, pretty much. And that Prince in wherever he is that's trying to give you $3 million if you'll just open a bank account is not somebody I would trust either.
Oh my gosh, you mean the $1,000 I put in is not going to yield the $3.5 million? He said he was going to send it.
No, I don't think so.
All right, brother.
All right. And so the next thing before we get into the real world examples is, you know, I'm not picking on IT, but I'm basically saying wanting to bring awareness to IT. And a financial group that I just worked with, this slide is one that I used, and it really opened their eyes. Is they were telling me, well, we're doing patch management, we're doing this, and this is a situation. Now stop and think about this. The majority of the commercial real estate world do not have IT oversight. Would you agree? There's just the building control side. All right, but so when you do have one, this is a step in the right direction that IT is involved, and they are have the application host and they're maintaining and monitoring. That's great. The problem is, if you notice the top quadrant, there's these little red dotted lines. Well, IT is not really aware of the fact that there is an application running on this machine, and the vendor needs to get in there and do things. And so a lot of times they'll hand that over to the vendor, and then that's about as far as the oversight goes. The other problem with this is, now the workstations, obviously they're taking care of those. Below this line is they do not even pretty much know that exists. Okay, we know it, you guys know it. These are the things that is the heart and soul of the control system. So therefore, if you stop and think about it, about 40% of the system is 30 to 40% of the system is the only insight IT has into it. And because of that, some of the things they do actually negatively impact the rest of the system. And I'll show you that in a minute.
So,
Hey, Fred, you know what? I think that was one of the best slides I've ever seen depicting the actual, roles and responsibilities, how you have the application layer is totally beneath the IT's awareness. You know, that is a very important illustration that, here's all this goings on where in that server, especially, the IT is just not even involved.
False sense of security, right, Fred and Ken?
Right. Wow.
Absolutely. Very quick story. This one customer where IT was, working with them, building their policies. And they told me, they said, well, we have vulnerability management down. And I said, well, that's great. And I said, but I'm having a hard time. Tell me what that means. And said, well, if we find something vulnerable, we bring it in, put it on the bench, we check the vulnerabilities, we fix them, and we send them back to the field. And I said, so you guys have N4 certified programmers?
No.
No, it was silent. And they said, what is that? And I said, well, you say you're checking the vulnerabilities. So if somebody were to bring in a JACE 8000, you check those?
What's a JACE 8000?
So that's the way the conversation went. And that's what made me build this slide. And then when I carried it back to them and showed them what it was, they were like, oh yeah, no, we don't do that. So now let's talk about our world first. So is this an anomaly, or is this what we normally see? It's what we normally see, right?
Right.
And when you walk in, those machines are actually logged in. Well, could you imagine this being a SharePoint server? Would that happen with a SharePoint server? No. It's going to be locked up in a closet somewhere, and there's going to be no keyboard, monitor, or mouse on it, and you cannot use it for anything other than what it was intended for. The other thing that we all see this all the time, is this information is pretty much posted on sticky notes or under the keyboard, whatever the case may be. The other thing that I talk about over and over, almost ad nauseum, is shared user accounts. And the reason that that's important is because then you never know who's getting into your system. And when I tell people, and I want to show you guys this, when I tell people, I can walk in and tell you if there are shared user accounts. And they're like, no, how can you do that? Well, we know that if you see Train on there, and I'm not picking on Train, it says BAS contractor. Do you think that they only have one Train service guy that comes in and works on that system? No, they may have 5. Engineer, that's a common user for all of the people in the building. This is one that most people may recognize if you've dealt with, excuse me, with Jace or with Johnson Control. Again, you see these usernames that are nondescript. Jace Link, building. I had to cover some of these up. I let tech on the end of the one there at the bottom left of the screen, but that's just, trust me, those were common, but I can't show you the names. Up here at the top, that's a Medisys. So you got KTP operator. So these are shared usernames and accounts. Now, moving on to other things that we see, supervisory controllers with wireless. Okay, that in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing if you are managing it well, if you've got it locked down. However, most are not. So therefore, if I'm sitting outside the building, I can probably get into that because the username and password is not going to be restricted. The one on the right, Ken, you're gonna really love this one with your military background. Is on the right is a contractor network exposed DSL with a public IP on it. On the left is a secure military network. So what I just did was I let the outside world in on the secure military network.
Yeah, it's a low-level classified network, but yeah, that's spooky, Fred. Oh, geez, I don't know how we can get this out into the public's attention quick enough. This is a perfect. I mean, I think this is the most graphic presentation of the cyber issues that we talk about. This is very well done, Fred. I mean, we need to help you get this out to the public at large so they can see just the nature of this.
Well, the sad thing is, thank you, I appreciate that. The sad thing is to be quite honest, we could probably do a 3 or 4 hour presentation on the things that I've seen, and we're not going to do that, obviously. But, and I'm gonna blaze through some of these other ones pretty quick, and then we can kind of talk. The reason I showed this screen is the people told me, says, "Oh, our server is in Iraq and nobody can get to it." And I said, "Well, that's fine. I need to see it." So when I logged into it, everything you see on that screen had been accessed from this server. And that's open. Yeah, that's just opening it up to all kind of vulnerabilities. Also, the other thing we see is a lot of personal information, personal pictures, music. So I don't know why goats and mop buckets and things like that would be on somebody's front end.
Well, no, I think you nailed it when you said the server was in Iraq. Iraq, right? So this.
Good. That's pretty good. Music, found a lot of music. So I guess they need entertainment during the day. And these are just some browser histories that we've seen. Again, reiterating the point that people are using this. Now this one kind of scared me, and nobody really could tell me why that was there. And if you notice, the one you can read, gyrocopter girl flying Kevlar from Germany to South France.
That's very important work-related stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely. And forging a knife with nails is also important. This one is one that people, I have to introduce the concept to, is like, for example, if you have a front end and you are going to store drawings on it, and somebody argued with me that, well, I must have Adobe Premiere on there or Adobe on there in order to do that. And I said, no, you don't. You're actually opening the file up on your machine, so you need it there. But in best practices for servers, there should be nothing on there except the very minimum operating system setup to run the application, and only the application. That's best practice. Other things we find logging in over and over in these systems. A lot of out of date. I can give you numbers, facts, and figures on that. This is something else that is a common occurrence with us, is the thing that you see on the left. Somebody has come in and put in a wireless access point, and nobody in the building knows why. Nobody with the facility group knows why. the assumption is the vendor did it. We did have one client where the vendor, neither the vendor or the facility guys would acknowledge that that was supposed to be there. And so therefore we pulled it out that day, and then the vendor began to complain that they couldn't get to their system. The other thing is too, in IT world is there's a decommissioning process where you pull devices out of off the system that are no longer used. Well, in our world, a lot of times they're just abandoned in place. Why is that a problem? Well, if you don't know it's there and somebody else finds it, it's still accessed back into your system, right?
Yes.
The other thing, these are just random devices that were just totally publicly exposed, okay? Now, this is all too often the case, regardless if you're a hospital, financial group, bank, military, whatever, is unmanaged switches throughout the building. I get it. That was the norm back in the day. But this is something that you can't manage, so therefore anybody can plug into it at any time and you'll never know that they're there. And please, guys, if I'm anything you want to interrupt me with, please do. I mean,
Fred, this is I applaud you for sharing your empirical knowledge, because I don't think I've ever seen anybody rally up such grievous offenses. But in each one of these cases, you were called in to do a survey, and you've got a methodical process that evaluates things, and this is what you confront. This is what you bump into right here. These are you open a door and you look at this and you just start whistling, because these people maybe gave you some pushback at the very beginning that they've got it under control and we don't have any problems. Would that be an assessment?
Yeah, and actually, probably need to bring Mike McGee back on. He's some of the things you just said. He's got some really good stats on just the overall from a compliance standpoint, and the thing that you mentioned about people saying no, we've got it all handled. He has some good stats on the conversation, because we document everything. Is the conversations at the beginning when you tell me this is how we are, we have to keep that, right? We have to know where you think you are, and then when we go through and do the assessment, the variance between there is about 70% of the time what they said they had is not really what they had.
Yeah, this is a very sobering thing. But so let's just review that. You've got hospitals. You got 2 hospitals. You got 2 military bases, and then the rest are financial, bank or financial groups. So I mean, we're not talking about access to insignificant information. We're talking about very, very crucial, vital, game stopping offenses here, right? I mean, so I mean, wow. I mean, this to me, I don't think we've ever seen such a integrated presentation of the actual reality. This is a reality breaker here. This is a bubble breaker.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is it's really, some of the people that we've done these for have not been happy with the results that we've given them. But I gotta say, and I appreciate the fact that most of the people, when we do hand these back, they go, thank you for letting me know, because otherwise we wouldn't know. And the only message I have beyond that that's somewhat negative is, okay, that's good, but once we walk out of the door, it can go right back to this. You got to continue on the process.
Now, Fred, I just want to ask a real quick question. The person that you've just presented this, are they at the C level, or are you still working with facility manager? Where are you in this conversation?
Well, the presentation that where a lot of this came from has been, I've actually used it with IT, with the C level, and with not the facility local engineer, but facility management. And but my goal is, I would like to be able to sit down with facility guys and if we could do classes or something to bring some awareness to these things. In fact, I've even thought about throwing together some, and Eric, you and I kind of talked about the video thing earlier, throwing together some things of awareness videos, real quick 1 to 2 minute things to say, here, facility guys, take a look at this. This is what typically you see. Maybe you might want to walk around your building and take a look yourself,
Yeah.
Fred, I got one more question. Who would be the likely culprit? Who's the person that put this in? Who was the gentleman or female employee that said, I got a good idea. Let's go ahead and, this is how we can solve a problem. I mean, is this without getting ourselves in trouble here, is this a service provider? Is this a BAS technician? Are these coming in from like third-party services? I mean, who created these situations?
Well, as you guys know, and for those that don't, I mean, I was an integrator for 16 years. I was the guy that installed systems, programmed them, that kind of thing. So with that said, I can't just arbitrarily say it was the vendor, because the vendor did do this. But here's the thing, let's stop and think about it. It's a progression of 35 years. The company I worked for is a great service industry. They are a great servicer of these systems. What we did, and what every integrator does, is once the system is installed, they want to help the facility guys, because the facility guys may not really totally understand the inner workings of this side of the house. And so, I mean, they are really good at the mechanical side, but they don't have this side. So since we installed it, what we would do is we'd say, look, we can save you some money if you let us have remote access. And they say, sure, that'd be great. So we would tell them, this is how we're setting up remote access. We're going to put in a public IP, or we're going to put in log me in. And they go, that's great. Oh, and then this is a facility guy talking. He said, well, can I have that access too? And so we say, sure. And it's all of these conversations have happened independent of IT. So all of these unmanaged switches and things that have been plugged in have been plugged in for convenience. It's not been.
It was bad practices, Fred. It was just everything. It was like before people knew that smoking caused cancer, everybody smoked cigarettes, right? I mean, it was just best practices. It was the easiest way to do it, and everybody did it, right?
That's one of the best examples I've heard. Is back when smoking, everybody thought smoking was okay. I mean, it was the thing to do. It wasn't thought of as being wrong. Well, then once it was identified, like what we're trying to do now is identify these things. It's like, okay, so now's the time to change. That's all we're saying. No malice.
Yeah, no malice at all. But like when people said cigarette smoking was not good for you, I mean, people fought it. They didn't want to believe it. And I think, Fred, what you're doing is you're like the Paul Revere here. You're saying, look, guys, this is what's going to happen. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of this news, but be forewarned. If you don't make changes, bad things will happen. And you might be like some people that smoke and never get sick. I mean, there are a few of those, right? And maybe you're going to be one of those, but do you really want to take that chance?
No, but what you did, Fred, you just very simply summarized what the issues were and what the driving forces were. Number one was ignorance or naivety, from 35 years of assuming that, we were, just not really of anybody's interest, none of a sudden, boom. Number two was the convenience, that convenience and cost savings, where if you let me do this, then this is what we can do better, faster, quicker, give you better service, give you better diagnostic, respond to alarms or whatever. And then third was that these were conversations that didn't involve IT. So I think there's if we're coming up with the golden rules and so this is really good stuff. Excellent.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to kind of blaze through a couple of things. I do want to stop on this. If you've never seen ransomware, one of my guys, this literally happened the day he walked into the facility. He was downstairs having a meeting, telling everybody what's going on. A guy was up in the engineering office, checked his email, and boom, he got ransomware. So what happens is it pops up and it tells you, hey, we now have control of your computer. You got to send us some Bitcoin in order to get it loose, and then it encrypts everything and you can't get to it. But that's an actual screen from a system that our guy was on. So, I mean, he took a picture with his phone right then. So I can't, and I don't know how much time we got, but I'll try to keep this brief, but I can't not mention when IT gets involved. Again, not picking on IT, I want them involved, but what I want them to do is to get awareness of what it is that they're working with. This particular system right here, 101-story building, there was 10,000 plus devices inside there. We did the cyber commissioning on it. 2 weeks later, IT turned up all of their vulnerability management suites And what they did was they knocked over 60% of the devices offline to the point that they had to all be power cycled to get them back on. That's over 6,000 devices. Somebody had to go to each one and power cycle it because they ran a scan. That's it. This is the one you've heard me talk about, the bomb in the building, where somebody found the wireless printer on the parking system. This is not an IT thing, but they printed there's a bomb in the building. They had to dump the bomb. This is one. Actually, this needs to be updated because I talked to the manufacturer and their number was quite higher than what I thought. But the bottom line is IT got involved, an employee got fired, they started removing his credentials, and they lost communication to over 100 buildings. It was so bad that they had to bring in the manufacturer. According to the manufacturer, there were over 6,000 man hours lost trying to get this fixed. Something that only took an hour to screw up took 6,000 hours to fix on their part. My part, I was involved in it for over 6 weeks. Not obviously steadily, but quite a bit.
Wow.
Java update, I think I've told this one before, where IT pushed out a Java update. In operatory suites, you have to monitor the airflows in there. If you can't monitor them, you have to cancel surgeries. Locked up the systems. They had to cancel surgeries in 50 locations for 2 days.
Wow.
This is just IT not knowing really what they had. Is when we started doing this one particular customer, they said, well, we know where everything is. And we said, okay, well, that's good. And they said, and we've got everything locked down. We were in I think it's Johnson Control. I don't know, but they had those chiller packages that they just set on the roof. And inside there was a single unmanaged switch. So my guy plugged in and did a scan. He was able to see over 1,500 of their locations throughout the U.S. and they thought they had everything locked down.
Wow.
Then vendors. Well, this is a problem we're running into now. Is a secure gateway will be put in place, and then the vendor will still go back and circumvent that. And in this case, what happened was they circumvented it, and then because we were monitoring it, we saw that Stuttgart, Germany was trying to talk to this one particular device, a gateway, and the gateway was talking back to Stuttgart. For what? We don't know. Again, vendor noncompliance. Secure methodology was put into place. They circumvented it, and they got hit with ransomware and an attack. School system. For whatever reason, the vendor put in, I know the reason, but they put in public IP, but there was Russian traffic to that control system, and it just so happened that the network that the student records were on were overlapped or on the same network, basically. And then this one, there was this is probably the worst case from a standpoint of equipment attack. Is this one had a public IP, they got in and they screwed up the chiller to the point it took them 92 days to fix it. So, but anyway, that's it really quickly, and maybe not as quick, but.
No, Fred, this has been awesome. Listen, real quick as we wrap up, tell our listeners a little bit about what you guys do and how you guys can help, and obviously you put the contact information up, but. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so the good news is there's several ways that this can be attacked, and not in a cost that's going to blow the bank, so to speak. We've actually come up with a way to do this, and we were actually working on this before COVID, of being able to do a lot of remote assessment. We have an enabler that lets us do that. We also we use Totem. I know you guys are involved with them too. We use them as a remote compliance check. So we have that, and then we can go deep audits if you want to. We've even done full-on red team work. And if you're not familiar with red team, that's where we basically try to circumvent not only your control system security, but also your facility security as well. We have a team that we contract to do this physical security side of it. So it's it's a wide range. But here's the thing too is I want to throw myself out there, and my bosses are okay with this, is I'm available via LinkedIn or my email. We can set up some time, and I'll be happy to just talk to somebody to get them at least a feel for what it is they might be able to do, some quote free advice, if you will. And if they want to take it a little bit further, then, you know, obviously we'll be happy to help them.
No, Fred,
Hey,
I'll tell you
Eric,
what. Yeah. Well, Kenny, go ahead.
No, I was going to do the wrap up thing, and I didn't know if it was appropriate because Fred had won a cybersecurity award with Control Trends many, many years ago, and when his first earnest efforts came out, we were just impressed. And now it's evolved and transitioned to Fred that you know that there's some champions out there. You know, there's some professional people that really went out and have gone far above and beyond to help from their experiences, share those experiences, and let the other people in very similar environments learn or know about their problems so that they would be more likely to understand what the importance of doing something with cybersecurity and taking those measures. You know, so there's some leadership out there in the public sector that you wanted to recognize, correct?
Exactly, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's all this bad that, and I hate to call it bad because that's just the way the industry was. But for all of that I've shown today, I also want to recognize those people that are doing things, because there are some real thought leaders beyond. They're thinking of stuff I didn't think of, but a lot of commercial real estate people are stepping out there and doing some things that are really positive, and they need to be recognized.
Well, that'll be the sequel we come back to, Eric. Next time we have Fred on, we'll be talking
absolutely.
about something neat.
Fred, and Fred Gordy, as always, man, we can't tell how much we appreciate you. You know, our industry is so much better. Not just our industry, but every industry is so much better to have you and your team at Intelligent Buildings involved. IntelligentBuildings.com, great team. Fred Gordy, as always, thanks, brother.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Eric and Ken. As I say, you guys have really been there for me, so I appreciate it.
Always, brother. Take care. Well, Kenny, man, Fred Gordy, huh? Was that incredible or what? Yeah,
you know, I just the highlights that every time we talk to him, it's a highlight reel, because I mean, the things that he shares with us, you know, actually have, you know, value. I still have his very first checklist. We put it on Control Trends. I think it was 6 years ago. I printed that out and I literally had it posted, you know, where anybody would pay attention to it, because we just didn't know what we were talking about and what we were doing. And now all of a sudden he's got it down with what he put together in that PowerPoint that we saw, to me, was the most compelling, motivating metrics that I've ever seen in cybersecurity as it applies to building automation.
Kenny Smyers, man, one of my favorite people, is teed up and ready to go. Control Trends community, get ready, because this is going to be a party. How about introducing her?
Eric, I'd love to. We have Angie Jarvis, Regional Sales Manager for Eastern United States and Canada for Functional Devices with us. And Angie has been a long-standing, you know, basically a stalwart in the industry. Despite her charm and her good looks, she knows exactly what she's doing and has done so much to bring you know, the small side of our industry into the large picture. And that is all those important accessories, all those important relays, and the things that people take for granted. Well, she works for a company, Functional Devices, that makes the highest quality materials, U.S. made. And welcome to the show, Angie Jarvis.
Welcome,
Thank
Angie
you,
Jarvis.
Gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity today.
Well, we're so glad to have you, Angie. And I tell you, one of our favorite people in the industry. And listen, you know, we got a lot of new faces coming into the industry. You've been around for a while. Kenny's been around. I've been around. What advice would you give some of the youngsters that are coming into the industry about how to be successful and just kind of how to do what you do? You know, build customer loyalty and relationships.
You know what? Networking has been probably the biggest part of our success. It's, you know, allowed me to meet you guys, and, you know, that's part of the way we do things at Functionals. We go out and we travel and we, you know, try to talk to people in person when possible. But networking is such an important part of this. And, you know, our industry is small, and having those relationships is just absolutely important to the success of all of our businesses.
Well, really and truly, and you know, there's such great people in this industry. I mean, if you really get to know them, and when you're talking about networking, I mean, again, we go back. I mean, you know, it was like you guys would show up for golf outings and stuff like that. You had another great one, Sarah Mataloni. You know, you guys are, you know, the dynamic twins there as far as
absolutely.
And, and part of it seemed like what you guys did was you went beyond business. You guys found out what we were interested in. You were there. You made it more friendship. It was business,
Yes,
always business first, but friendship was a close second. Speak about that, if
absolutely.
you will.
Big part of it. And I'm glad you brought up Ms. Monteleone. I actually was able to see her a couple of weeks ago.
How is she look?
Wonderful.
How is she looking in Honeywell Red these days?
She is looking gorgeous as always.
She can rock and roll. All right. Well, Ange, listen, let's get right down to it. Tell us a little bit about functional devices for our community who might not know. Talk about the company's mission, and then let's get into some of the newer products you guys are having.
All right, so for you guys who don't know who Functional Devices is, we are a Indiana-based manufacturer. We've been around since 1969, so we just celebrated our 50th birthday last year. We were actually purchased about a year and a half ago by an amazing private equity firm out of Chicago called Shore Hill Capital. They have been so great for us. They've really helped us, take our business to the next level, and we're very excited about the new things that we're going to be able to do with having them on board and assisting us. So basically, Functional is a manufacturer of US made products. We do relays, current sensors, power supplies, and we're really trying to focus now more on our communicating devices and the kind of devices that are going to enhance our customers' building application systems. So we're doing a lot more with BACnet and wireless, looking at some BACnet over IP devices. And a lot of this comes from our customers too. So we would love to hear if any of you guys are out there listening to this and have some great ideas for us. Please make sure to pass them along. We'll get them to our engineering team and see if we can make that happen for you. But basically we just try to be a partner to our customers and help enhance the systems that they're already putting in. Some of our products have, a localized HOA switch. So if you need to have an override there to test something, we've got that. We've got all kinds of communicating devices that help bring information back so that you can gather data on the building, monitor your energy, all kinds of things that we're all looking at now. We definitely are not trying to be a control manufacturer. We do not want to do that. That's not our purpose. We're just here to enhance what you're already using by adding some extra inputs, outputs, some extra, smaller peripheral devices that'll help everybody get what they need.
Angie, it's an amazing evolution. I mean, I remember the old relays in the old days, and the plug-in relays, and the bases, and watching how functional devices continuously added smarts to the
Yes,
parts that were vital, and it became so reliable. I mean, the current sensors you all make are sold like toilet paper around the world. I mean, it's just the most reliable, inexpensive, technology, but it's so reliable. I mean,
yeah,
one thing I can tell you as being a distributor for many years is that the return rate, the warranty rate for functional devices was almost nil. There was never, I
absolutely.
mean, it was one of those ones where you sold it and you forgot about it, and you were surprised when anything didn't work. And then if it didn't work, we had a good technical support function that Functional is very, very proud of its technical prowess. And you have a remarkable
Absolutely.
website. I'm on your website right now, and to all the Control Trends listeners out there, if you want to learn about relays, you want to learn about different things, Functional Devices has a tech tip and videos section on their website that really truly can take a lot of time, and you can learn a great deal. So we applaud that. But we also know that you guys are growing. In other words, you just recently added a significant executive to your program that I
Yes,
happen
we
to know pretty
did.
well. And why don't we talk about Gary Matthews for a moment and tell us how Gary's coming to Functional Devices and the impact he's making.
Hey, we have had an amazing year this year. So we actually promoted a couple of our people in-house. We've got a new vice president of manufacturing, David Mackey, a vice president of engineering, Matt Long, and our VP of inventory and shipping logistics, Michelle Collins. And then about a month ago, we added Gary Matthews to our little functional family. So Gary comes on with over 30 years of experience in the industry. As you said, Kenny, he knows a lot of us already, so that's awesome. We're really looking forward to having him on board. And as soon as we all start traveling again, we'll be making the rounds and saying hi to everybody. So hopefully maybe we can get him on the show sometime too, and he can do a quick little invite with you guys.
Well, the thing about Gary, he probably has the most comprehensive Rolodex networking tool. He knows everybody and anybody from all the stratospheres of building automation, from
100%.
all the OEMs.
Absolutely. We actually were in North Carolina a couple weeks ago, and I think we knew the entire state between the two of us.
Right.
Nice.
It was
Well, listen,
wonderful.
Andy, there's a rumor going around, and this is a new product rumor, and if you can't confirm or deny it, I understand. And Kenny, I don't mean to put you on the spot with this, but I understand that there was a suggestion from one Kenneth Smyers for what we call the selfie relay, a relay that you could have in your building. It would take a picture and automatically send it to Instagram, and you're going to call it the man, myth, legend social media relay. Is any truth to that at all?
The Smyers RIB?
Yeah, the Smyers
Right,
relay.
yeah.
It's got a camera and take a picture and put it on Instagram.
Yeah, I like
Absolutely.
that. Let me know when that thing's
we're
ready.
doing a lot with our new digital skills this year, as we've all, had to
Nice.
come up with new ways to contact with our customers.
Well, nice. Well, listen, why don't we do this a little bit too? Because, Functional has always been such an advocate of two-step distribution, and you guys got some great partners that are very, very loyal to you. And I know we won't be able to talk about them all, but why don't we talk about some of the characters in our industry that handle your product? And maybe we'll start with Rick Jones out in Salt Lake City. What can you talk to me about Rick and his company and what they do?
Absolutely. So Rick and his team have been a longtime partner of ours. They are actually now part of a group called Building Controls and Solutions, which has multiple locations throughout the South and the Southwest. So they are definitely our partner out there in that area of the country. We've also, know some people at the Stromquist and Company in Atlanta. And,
no, I heard you got to stay away from them. I heard they're just no good. They're rotten to the core, right?
And we got our Jackson Control buddies right here in Indiana that are expanding. Right. So we really, really appreciate our distribution network, and again, that's kind of an extension of our sales team and our engineering team. We have our engineers in house, but we always love to make sure that our customers are trained on what they need to know, and are able to assist then their end contractors or facility managers who might need some help.
Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention our friend down in Texas, Scott Cross. You seen him lately? I hadn't seen Scotty in a while. Is he doing okay?
I have not, unfortunately, because of this whole COVID thing. I have not done a lot of traveling, so I miss him dearly. I'm ready to see all you guys hopefully next month.
Well, I understand, and Scott, you got to put in perspective our community. Scott runs temperature controls out of Dallas, Texas, and Scott is one of the just great individuals of all time. He's a great big guy, ex-police officer. So rumor has it that Scott is roaming the streets of Dallas and Fort Worth looking for COVID. He's ready to take it on a fist fight. I think his words were anytime, anywhere, but he's another great, great distributor of you guys.
Hey, and don't forget Pat Marcella and M&M.
Pat Marcella over there in Baltimore. How can I forget my love, Pat? Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I know you always charmed Pat and his team down there, because he always talked about Angie. He said, well, the truth is
we share a very close birthday. So, I'm a March 1st baby and he's a March 2nd baby. Yeah. So we kind of bond over that.
Well, and now we got the World Series going. Pat was, he almost made it to the majors. He was a minor league baseball catcher. And Kenny will tell you, Angie, and you know this too, we just need to forewarn our community. Pat's the greatest guy ever, but never bet with him on the golf course because you will lose, right?
You will lose for sure.
He's got a smooth swing and he is cool and calm, and his company just does a fantastic job. And then the big question, and I know our community is going to know this, is have there been any John Donahue sightings since he retired?
I have not had a John Donahue sighting. I have been in a little few contacts with him. He seems to be very much enjoying his new life and those beautiful new grandbabies he has. So looking forward to seeing him next month and seeing how things are going.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, JD was Controls Consultants, and he sold out and retired here about 3 or 4 months ago.
Yep.
So
Into June.
yeah, so another great individual. Who else? Who are we missing here? Kenny. I mean, obviously Roger Rebanek. We mentioned him, Indiana boy. Is Indiana? It's pretty amazing that it can keep both you guys in the same state, Angie.
I know, right? The two of us. Can you imagine? Well,
Well,
who
I
also I need to send a big shout out to, because I have been able to see him lately, is Mr. Scott Cochran and the team
Scotty
at
Wee.
Cochran Supply. So
They've been
those,
doing a road show or something. They've been on the road, hadn't they? Doing the Willie
yeah,
Nelson
they
thing.
had. They just
Bass
had
Fest,
their
yeah.
BAS Fest, which they did, both a hybrid and a virtual tour here in Indy. And they had their golf outings earlier this fall, which was literally the first time that we had been out of the office/home office in 6 months. So I've never been so excited to golf in my life.
Oh, nice. Scotty doing okay?
He's doing great, doing
Good.
really well.
Good,
Kids are
good.
growing, business is doing wonderful.
Awesome. Well, okay. Well, so I think we covered some of the highlights of the folks around the issue. For those of you who we missed, we apologize. But hey, there's such a great list of people that, especially that handle your product, because you pretty much go into any city and you're going to have somebody that can take care of you with functional devices, right?
Absolutely. We're very lucky that we have a great brand recognition, and we've been doing a lot this year trying to stay in contact with our customers, since we're not able to meet with them in person like we normally do. We've expanded our some of our communications, so we've now got a new RIB newsletter that goes out to people. We did a lot of webinars earlier this year, like everybody else was doing. Those are posted on our website that people can review at any time. Again, you guys mentioned the fantastic tech blog that we have on our website. So, we're just here to help enhance your experience.
Yeah. So
You
out
know,
of sight, but not out of touch, right?
Absolutely.
I'm just looking again on your site, so I'm cherry picking some of these great things that you have there. Very prominent. It's a great website at functionaldevices.com. But so you guys really did some very clever stuff. You worked your way around Modbus, Lawnworks, BACnet, and Ocean. But I think another really important product portfolio that you offer is that emergency lighting. You got the UL 924.
Absolutely.
And I think what Functional Devices allows people to do is come up with a very practical, inexpensive, but effectively engineered solution for some of these things that in this day and age where we need to remote monitor things. I mean, you provide all the things that can remote monitor lighting, energy, and tied into the building automation system. So what do you guys have on the roadmap that's going to make us all excited in 2021? Is there anything you could share with us?
So we have our engineers diligently working on some new products. We're looking at some UL 1008 devices to kind of coincide with the emergency lighting. We're working on some new DC power supplies and some BACnet over IP devices, again, to just help enhance our customers' experience with their control systems.
Well, speaking of Pat Marcella, he's a great golfer, and I heard he was a hell of a football player too. He's a good baseball player, but he's just an overall great athlete. He in golf,
Speaking of bocce ball too.
Bocce balls. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never played that, so I couldn't really comment much on it other than I've seen it in the Godfather movies and things like that. But the rescue club was a term they talk about in golf when you have a lousy lie and you're in the rough. You go to the special club. I always looked at rib relay as being like having rescue clubs for a lot of applications where you missed a point. You missed one BACnet point. You went overboard on your controller, and now what are you going to do? Well, I would always wait till that moment came and say, well, the Functional Devices has a solution. You can buy this BACnet relay and discover it, and next thing you know, it solves your problem. So that was a very popular product. And I always thought it was really a neat thing that when we had a problem, we could bring it to your engineers, they would discuss it, and they would come up with a solution or a couple solutions where you could pick which way you wanted to go with things. But
Definitely. Yeah.
Good to hear that you guys got some new products, because keep adding those smarts to that product. See, that was we made some, Eric and I were often, in confidence asked, what some companies could do for the future. And we'd always be seeing all these wireless developments and Ocean and whatever. And these companies weren't they were still inert. They basically didn't have any communication capability. I remember how Functional Devices caught on to that and really moved forward with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a great team of in-house engineers, and we also test every single product that we make as it comes off the line. So Kenny, you alluded earlier to the lack of issues we've had with them. That's because we've got such a great quality control staff there at our facility.
Yeah, a bunch of innovative Americans up there in Indiana creating all these great products. And again, when will the Smyers social relay be out?
Ooh, let me get back
Oh
to you.
boy.
I'll send a message to the
I need
guys
that for
later.
I need that for the holidays, so I don't have to,
Yeah,
wear
there you
myself
go.
out taking selfies, right?
Well, Angie,
on,
listen,
Eric.
man, is always thanks so much. Real quick, give our community the Functional Devices website so you can go check you guys out.
Absolutely. www.functionaldevices.com. We've got all kinds of great information on there. You can find a distributor, download data sheets, download the catalog, check out our tech blog, watch some webinars, or even send in questions that you might have. We're always looking for input from our customers. We want to hear from you on how we can better enhance your experience.
Well, listen, I think now it looks like you're outside having a good time. So what's the drink of the day? Are you guys drinking mimosas or Bloody Marys? That's probably how you could
right
enhance
now I've got my coffee, but my girlfriends are over here on bottle 2 of our mimosas. So as soon as
Can you put the camera over there so we can see your girlfriends with the
Angie,
mimosas?
you don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that.
Come say hi to the Control Trends community. Yeah.
They're going to come over and say hi because they've been listening to me out here.
There's one thing I want to say though.
I'm saying hi.
Hi.
Here's
How's it going?
Okay. Good job. Angie, Eric and I wanted to always thank you.
Yay.
We would like to thank you and Functional Devices for always supporting the Control Trends Awards.
Absolutely.
And being
Thank you guys so much too.
First to move sponsors. And as you know, we've got this retarded COVID-19. The HR canceled. They were trying to move it back to March. Now it's 2022 in Las Vegas. And we're going to
And how fun would that have been in Chicago when the river was green for St. Patty's Day?
That would have been great.
Yeah, but you know what? It just wasn't to be. I tell you, it's been
Wasn't to be.
setbacks.
But you know what? We're just going to make a bigger splash in 2022 in Vegas.
We will.
We go.
We will.
That's
and I echo what Kenny says. Thanks for all your support, Angie. Great talking to you.
Thank you guys.
Drink a Bloody Mary for me and a mimosa for Kenny, will you?
I will. Absolutely.
Thanks, and take care.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Okay, we're recording. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Well, hey, Kenny, I got to tell you, man, Angie, like I said earlier, one of my favorite people in the industry, just good people. And you know what? When you think about that, I mean, we got so many good people in our industry. So it was kind of cool to sort of go around the country, talk about some of our friends out there we've known for years. We got so many new people coming in like Aaron Gorka, Britt Burrows, so that our industry just keeps getting bigger and better, I think.
Yeah, Angie's she was a charmer. The first time I met her, I thought, she was so technically competent that it kind of, she was answering questions in front of a group of, guys that when some of these new things, like when current sensors first came out, I remember how there was some pushback and people, it's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. And, I got this problem, that problem, and, how do you do this, size it up, what's its capacity, what's its threshold, and I remember her fielding those questions so well. And then to see her, continue the success and see Functional Devices succeed the way they did. She mentioned that they had the third party buyout with the
Sherwood or something like that out of Chicago.
Short Hill Capital out of Chicago, but that's a good development in my opinion, because it's a good American made product. It has a 5-year warranty. We use them like toilet paper. I mean, it's one of those commodity items that you really don't take any time to worry about it not functioning. If you pick out the right part, it works. It's done. It's over. Move on. And the transform, they made something that that was kind of just a necessity, a heavyweight, high cost shipping thing. They've solved that too. I mean, they made transformers a profitable item for distributors because of the volume. And then of course the Rescue Club stuff. I've known several people that have really solved something by putting in one of those networked relays that it didn't have to go through the controller. So,
well, good stuff. Special thanks to Angie. Listen, dude, I know you want to get off because we've got Big Ten football comes back. It's the middle of October and the season's just beginning. Who's Penn State play today?
I don't know. I'm afraid I was more of a Pitt. Pitt's playing Notre Dame is the big talk
That's
going
a
on in
big,
Pittsburgh right now.
I got you.
And
Of course, the Steelers.
it's in Pittsburgh, and then well, the Steelers are off to a 5-0 start, and we're just holding our breaths because we're so it's so unusual. We were spoiled there for many years in the 70s, and then we were spoiled again, 2007, 8, whatever. But then we've gone through a pretty good precipice in performance. Last year we were 8-8. This year we're 5-0. So it's like everybody's pinching themselves, waiting for. We still got to go through Baltimore. We have the Tennessee coming up this week, and that's going to be a true test. They're undefeated as well, and they've got a hell of a team. And it makes football exciting again. I can't. I was going to wear my Steelers stuff, but I thought,
dude, I got to tell you, the most normal I felt in months was watching a football game. It just is something about it. Just at least that feels normal, right? I mean, not getting to go, but being able to watch it on TV gets back to a little bit of the normal.
I agree, and again, it's trite. I remember, back in the old days, I used to have football fever where if there was a football game on and I was driving somewhere, I had to stop. I had to go. I've actually rented a motel room just to watch a football game because I had to see this damn game, And now I've been tempered quite a bit that, I can listen to on the radio. But the thing about it is that you have these isolation areas. So if you're traveling, if you're out of state and you're looking to find your football game on TV, it's not likely to happen, if you're in another football area. Anyhow. So,
all right, Big Doug. Well, listen, we got, I think it's Ohio State and Nebraska should be on about now. So you go get your football fix. Kenny Smyers, and to our audience out there, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. A special thanks to our guest, Fred Gordy, Intelligent Buildings, and Angie Jarvis from Functional Devices. We'll be back next week. Until then, remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant, and just have a great week.
Indeed, Eric.
Oh, big.